So I am Kaylee Martin,
And I am Jamie Daniels.
and we are a co-teaching, team teaching power team. And we teach Banglish that is currently grades 9 and 10. So that is, they are linear. They spend one day in English and then the next day they're in band. So all year long, they're swapping between the two. I've taken that opportunity to combine the curriculum that they're learning in English with the repertoire they're doing in music, and tie them together. And as a result of that, we've seen not only enriched learning on the curricular level, but also more of a connection with the students. And part of that comes from the fact that they are together every day.
Kaylee and I have been doing an inquiry project using the spirals of inquiry, focusing on student sense of belonging. So what we had noticed is that in our joint Banglish class, the students had a very high sense of belonging. And we kind of did an inquiry into the reasons to why that might be a thing. And our next step was creating that sense of belonging in our other classes that weren't the band English combined. So I had an English class this semester, an English 8 class, and I focused specifically on building that community and sense of belonging prior to the pandemic, right? And so I did all these exercises and things just specifically to focus on building that feeling, those feelings of belonging. And so what I noticed is when I moved my curriculum online in March, that English class had 100% engagement in every assignment right through till the end, which is, yeah, it's really shocking. Even my music students, who I consider myself very connected to and very connected to each other, didn't have that level of engagement. So it was really quite a remarkable thing. And I think it's very telling. You know, I'm making some inferences for sure, but when I gave my students an exit interview just this week, I asked them, you know, tell me 3 memorable things about this class. And they all said the exercises that we were doing to build belonging, they all mentioned them. Every single kid across the board mentioned them. So it's definitely important to the kids, and we're not focusing enough on it. And it makes a difference, right? So we did all those exercises, and then the kids were engaged even when we had a global pandemic, even when we moved the curriculum online.
What kind of things did you do prior to the pandemic, and how did you continue that building and enhancing community when we all went online?
So I started right from day one with that English class. I noticed something with previous English classes, that my students sometimes by the end of the semester did not know each other's names. And I thought it was horrifying. How can you spend every day in a room with somebody and not know who they are? And so I slowed my curriculum way down, which with the new curriculum is possible. You don't have to tick off all these competencies, you know, in a list like we used to. And so it was possible to take more time to do things. And we spent the first week getting to know each other. We co-constructed classroom norms. And then we even decided sort of how we would complete the big ideas. We chose, you know, I had the kids tell me, what would you like to do? What would you like to learn, and how would you like to learn it? And so we did lots of like think, pair, shares and other thinking routines to come up with all of that stuff, the classroom norms and the sort of curricular things that we were going to cover. So that kind of took up, you know, almost 4 full days, but was really important, I think, in creating this feeling of community. The kids felt invested in what we were doing, which I'm not totally sure that I've ever had a class that I've run that felt that invested. And then every day we did sort of like a sharing circle, I guess we'll call it. So the kids would stand up and come into the center of the room. We would stand in a circle and face each other, and I would give them some sort of prompt, and they would have to either agree or disagree with that prompt. And every student had a chance to speak, and we practiced active listening, where the other students would look at them and were not allowed to make any sounds, but had to make eye contact and use body language to respond, and then thank the person who spoke before them, and everybody spoke. It just kind of, it was an interesting experience because we did it every day. And so the students were saying things like, oh, I didn't know you could learn so much by listening to what other people had to say. But it also created that comfort then when we were having discussions based on the curriculum, where students felt comfortable sharing in front of each other because they were so used to it. We practiced it and I had a lot less problems with kids interrupting, or talking over. I would say almost zero classroom management problems in that class prior to spring break. It was just a really amazing atmosphere, and just a regular group of kids. I had all sorts of kids, like you always do. I wouldn't say they were, top drawer, bottom drawer. They were just all the drawers, and so it. I don't know. It was really awesome, and I hope to continue my practice like that forever.
Cool. How did you maintain that? And once we moved online, like were you able to, the protocol you had about sharing circle prior to the class starting or as part of your day, were you able to maintain some of that community building work that you did when you moved online?
Yeah, definitely. We did it sort of more of a forum post style. I didn't do too much synchronous instruction because I found it very challenging for kids to be available all at the same time. And so they were responding in text rather than in voice, but I found the discussion still to be quite rich. Almost primarily Google Classroom.
Okay. So for those kinds of discussions, would you put your question or check-in question or something into the stream and then they just comment on it to respond?
You got it.
Kaylee, how about you? What were some key qualities that you wanted to bring out when we had to move to remote learning?
Well, I found I had a really high engagement as well. There's a few that, of course, had outside struggles that were out of their control, so they couldn't engage 100%. But I found that the exercises that we did online, like those ones where I was posing a question and there was a discussion, were the ones that were done with the most engagement. So when I was giving like a traditional assignment saying, well, read this short story and then answer these questions, there was less engagement in those than the like, tell me what the best part of, like, everything's negative. Tell me the best part of this quarantine situation, best part of lockdown. And so that then they would comment on each other's comments and it'd become more of a discussion. So they were definitely more into that than doing assignments, which fair. And then I found that in English, you can check off whether they've met the expectations based on stuff like that. So I took quite a bit of their final marks from like how well they participated in those discussions, because I found, number one, most of them did participate, so I had material to mark off of. And then also they were showing critical thinking and all of the things that we want our English students to be thinking. Just trying to generate some empathy and compassion, which I think is probably more important than curricular competencies anyway.
Like, it sounds like there was a bit of a shift in your thinking about what curricular competencies even were. If you started out really looking at, okay, well, here's a story and here's some questions about the story and essay assignment or whatever it happens to be. And it sounds like it kind of shifted into recognizing the kids sort of analyzing of their own experience during this time as being a way of developing those curricular and content competencies.
Yeah.
That's cool. I didn't think about that.
In the very beginning, I mean, we didn't have a long time to switch to online learning. And I think that in my practice, I don't, and neither does Kaylee, I know this for sure, don't do a ton of, here's some information, answer some questions. Like that's, that's so traditional, but I defaulted to that for just a little bit, just for necessity or comfort's sake, because I wasn't sure how else to do it. But as I got more comfortable, the students got more comfortable, and we were able to expand our learning a little bit and our opportunities to show our learning and things like that. So Google Classroom allowed some more instantaneous feedback, and it was kind of fun to like comment on a student's work and have them comment back, and then you kind of started a discussion right there on their work. I enjoyed that part. As far as meaningful, well, I don't know, you'd have to ask them.
Just to add to that, I found that, so normally in the normal classroom setting, I let students turn something in. If they're not happy with the mark, they can fix whatever they want, turn it in as many times as they want. But I find that often students don't take that chance. Mm-hmm. But with the switch to online, way more of them were. Yeah. So I would make comments and say, this is good, but fix this, this, and this. And normally they just go, oh, I'll just take the C. But on here, they were just like, okay. And they made the changes and they resubmitted it. like within the hour.